France tests Rafale jets to strike Russian forces.
That is the headline.
Oh.
It's really shaking things up this morning.
It is Friday, January 30th, 2026. The French Air and Space Force has just wrapped up a massive exercise.
And this wasn't just any exercise. They were simulating an offensive operation against a, quote, high-tech adversary.
And let's be real here. When you look at the flight paths, the electronic signatures, the scenario is explicitly Russia.
No question. This isn't just a drill. It is a very, very loud strategic message.
So if you are following the war in Ukraine and the future of European security, you really cannot afford to miss what we're about to break down. Please take a second right now. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in the latest Deep Dive by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we're going to cover
France's huge pivot. We're talking a full-on war economy.
and the terrifying capabilities of what they're calling the Rafale F-5 superfighter.
Plus, the return of the bunker-busting SCALP missile production line. I mean, that line's been dormant for 15 years.
It's a massive topic, a complete transformation of how France, and really, by extension, Europe, plans to defend itself.
And we are going to get into some incredible stuff today. We're going to dig into why those Russian S-400 air defense systems, the ones once feared as impenetrable,
Right.
why they are consistently failing to stop French technology.
We'll also look at the loyal wingman concept, where the fighter jet becomes an airborne quarterback, basically controlling stealth drones.
And maybe the most critical piece of this puzzle, the nuclear shadow. There's this French concept called épaulement, and it's how they plan to use conventional strikes as a final warning to Russia before things go nuclear.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the news that just dropped. These exercises. We're seeing reports of Rafales practicing penetrating dense enemy air defenses. This feels different.
It is very different. You're right. For decades, French military planning was, expeditionary.
Like counterinsurgency in Mali, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Fighting groups without radar, without serious surface-to-air missiles. But what just happened? That was high-intensity warfare.
So the target profile was explicitly Russian.
Russian Integrated Air Defense Systems, or I-80s, they were practicing how to crack open what we call an A2AD bubble, anti-accessory denial.
So, to put it bluntly, they're not practicing dropping bombs on insurgents in pickup trucks anymore.
No, they're practicing kicking down the door of a superpower. And the drills involve what's called active electronic warfare.
Which means they were flying while being jammed.
Constantly. Sensors jammed, communications degraded, GPS drifting. It's the exact hostile environment pilots are facing over Ukraine right now.
And they were practicing deep strikes with the SCALP missile under all that pressure.
It's a direct response to President Macron's stance that, quote, Russia cannot be allowed to win. This drill puts that policy into physical action.
It's a flex, a really serious one, and central to this flex is that weapon, the SCALP missile. Or, I guess, Storm Shadow if you're British. We hear its name constantly.
I do.
But what is it really? Why is this specific missile such a nightmare for Russian forces?
The SCALP EG is, well, it's a brilliant piece of engineering. It's a fire-and-forget, low observable, stealth missile.
It's heavy too, right?
About 1,300 kilograms. But the magic isn't just the stealth, it's the flight path. It uses GPS and inertial navigation, sure, but it also uses TERCOM.
Terrain contour matching. Is that like reading a map as it flies?
That's a great way to put it. It scans the ground below with a radar altimeter and compares that to a 3D map stored in its memory.
So it can fly super low.
Skimming the treetops low, it hides in the clutter of the ground, stays below the radar. Then for the final attack, a thermographic camera visually identifies the target.
And the warhead has a special name. B-Roach.
And that's the real secret sauce.
Yeah.
It stands for Bomb Royal Ordnance Augmented Charge. It's a multi-stage warhead.
Multi-stage.
The first charge is a shaped charge. It blows a hole through soil or even reinforced concrete. Then the second, larger charge, flies through that hole and detonates inside the target.
So it knocks on the door, blows the door off its hinges, walks inside, and then explodes.
A very vivid, but a very accurate way to describe it. And we've seen the results in Ukraine. This is not theoretical.
The Russian Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Sevastopol.
That was SCELP. The destruction of the Rostov-na-Donu submarine in dry dock. That was SCLP.
I remember seeing those photos. The hole was just split wide open.
And that single type of strike forced the entire Russian fleet to retreat from the northwestern Black Sea. That's a strategic impact from one conventional weapon.
Which brings us to a really surprising part of this story. They're making them again.
They are.
I read the production line was shut down for 15 years.
It was. MBDA, the manufacturer, thought they had enough. Then in 2025, they reopened the facility in Stevenage. It's a massive industrial effort.
Why now?
To replenish stockpiles sent to Ukraine, of course, but also to prepare for a long war. This is that war economy Macron talks about. You don't restart a 15-year-old production line for fun.
Incredible. But of course, the missile needs a delivery truck. And for France, that's the Rafale.
The Rafale is so much more than just a truck. They call it the omni-role fighter.
Omni-role, I've heard that. Is that just, marketing for multi-role?
No, and they're very specific about that. Multi-role means you configure a plane for one mission, then it takes hours on the ground to reconfigure it for another.
Okay.
Omni-role means the Rafale can do everything in one single flight. It can carry air-to-air missiles, bombs, a nuclear missile, a recon pod all at once.
And the pilot can just switch between tasks mid-flight?
Instantly. If the mission changes, the plane changes with it.
So where is the Rafale at right now? I know there are different standards, like a software update.
The fleet is moving to the F4 standard. F4 is all about connectivity. It turns the plane into a flying data node.
And it has the new helmet, right? The Thales Scorpion.
Yep. It lets the pilot target an enemy just by looking at them. It's called off-bore sight targeting. Plus, the new AESA radar, which sees further and resists jamming much better.
But the sources are really hyping up the next version, the F5, the Super Rafale.
Ah, the F5. That's the real game changer. Development started in 2024. It's expected after 2030, but the tech is being built right now.
And what makes it so super?
The F5 stops being just a fighter jet. It becomes an airborne quarterback.
I love that analogy. The pilot is calling the plays.
Precisely. The F5 is designed to fly with a loyal wingman.
Which is a stealth drone.
A stealth drone, a UCAS based on their Neuron program. So the Rafale hangs back, safe, while the drone goes deep into enemy airspace to do the dangerous work, jamming, decoying, striking.
So if the drone gets shot down, it's just a machine. The pilot is safe.
It's called distributed combat. You distribute the risk away from the human. And the F5 brings a new hypersonic nuclear missile, the ASN-4G.
This is where things get really interesting for me, though. The whole idea of sovereignty and being ITAR-free, why is that so important?
This is absolutely crucial for what France calls strategic autonomy. See, most European weapons have some American parts in them. A chip, a sensor, something.
And that falls under ITAR regulations.
Exactly. Which means the U.S. government has a veto on where that weapon can be sold or how it can be used.
So Washington could, in theory, ground your fleet if they don't like what you're doing.
Or block a sale. The Rafale is built almost entirely in France. It is ITAR-free. France has total control. They don't need a permission slip from the White House.
That's a huge deal, especially with how politics can shift.
It's insurance.
Okay, let's talk about the other side of this clash, the Russian S-400 Triumph. For years, we've been told this thing is the ultimate jet killer.
It is formidable. Let's not downplay it. It has incredible range and powerful radar, but it's not invincible.
And the Rafale has a specific counter.
It has an entire ecosystem of counters. First, you have the Spectre suit.
Sounds like something from a spy movie.
It stands for self-protection equipment, countering threats to Rafale aircraft. It uses something called active cancellation.
Like noise-canceling headphones, but for radar.
Perfect analogy. The enemy radar sends out a wave, and Spectre analyzes it and sends back the exact opposite wave to cancel it out. You basically become a ghost to that radar.
And it also has passive detection.
It uses front sector optronics, which are just incredibly powerful heat-seeking cameras, to spot the S-400 system without ever turning on its own radar.
So it sees the S-400, but the S-400 doesn't know it's being watched.
Exactly. And then you have the missile's flight path, which we talked about. Evidence from the war shows storm shadows flying right over S-400 positions in Crimea because they're just too low and too stealthy for the system to lock on effectively.
So the S-400 might be a bit of a paper tiger when faced with these modern, integrated Western systems.
It's proving to be a solvable problem. Which brings us to the grand strategy here. Why is France doing all of this?
It all comes back to Ukraine and this idea of European autonomy.
It does. France is doubling down. 40 more SCALPs for Ukraine, hundreds of bombs, new security packs.
And there's that unique French military doctrine you mentioned, épaulement, shouldering.
This is unique to France. It's the concept of connecting conventional war to their nuclear deterrent.
How does that work?
They use a high-precision conventional deep strike, like a SCALP hitting a command bunker, as a final warning. It's a signal to the enemy that says, we can hit you anywhere. We are serious, and if you escalate, the next step is nuclear.
That is terrifyingly clear. It's managing the escalation ladder.
And France wants to offer this capability, this way of thinking, to the rest of Europe.
As an alternative to relying solely on the U.S.?
Exactly. With political uncertainty in the U.S., France is positioning itself, its military, and its nuclear deterrent as a sovereign European solution for Germany, for Poland, for Sweden.
Because the consensus seems to be that if Ukraine falls, European security completely crumbles.
Right. France is positioning this Rafale SCALP team as the guarantor of Europe's eastern flank. It's a bid for leadership, backed by some very, very serious hardware.
So what does this all mean for the future? As France opens this debate on sharing its nuclear deterrent with European neighbors, are we witnessing the birth of a true European army that doesn't rely on Washington?
And with the Super Rafale on the horizon, has the balance of power in the skies already shifted permanently?
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Arya, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
It's a rapidly changing world, and we'll keep you updated on every development.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.